In Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Merrenoloth are described as pale, almost skeletal humanoids, standing around 5 feet tall, enshrouded in rotting robes and burial wraps. Their eyes glow a burning red, like most other Chronodemons, those who are in service to Charon, master of the River Styx. The Merrenoloth serve him as the pilots of boats that sail the River Styx, a cross-planar river that acts as the quote-unquote natural passage between the top layers of the lower planes. Note that this is in the Great Wheel cosmology, and in others, it'll be different. These skiffs that they pilot are not the only vessel they can command, as Merrenoloths can bind themselves to any boat-like vessel. However, their powers and life are directly tied to the vessel to which they are currently bound, which may explain their fervent protection of such vessels. Being lower fiends in terms of their power, the Merrenoloth are not combat-focused, and will flee rather than fight, as they can usually escape along the river with ease. However, if cornered, they will fight with ferocity to the last, trying to save their vessel and the souls or living passengers on board who have paid their due. The Merrenoloth are wise and cunning, and owe fealty to their master Charon not due to being bound like most fiends, but instead due to his ruthlessness and power, and their ability to take a cut of the funds they receive from travelers and the souls of the damned. The Merrenoloth has an AC of 13, 40 HP, and a speed of 30 with a swim speed of 40. They have decent stats other than strength, con, and charisma, and have several bonuses to saves and skills. Like most fiends, they're resistant to cold, fire, lightning, and non-magical weapons, and completely immune to acid and poison. They speak both abyssal and infernal, due mostly to their constant travel through the multiple lower planes. They're innate spellcasters who can cast Charm Person, Darkness, Detect Magic, Dispel Magic, Gust of Wind, Control Water, and Control Weather. They're magic resistant and deal magical weapon damage, and as a bonus action they can teleport. In combat, they make 1 Fear Gaze attack and 1 Ore attack, with the Ore dealing 5 to 11 damage and the Fear Gaze forcing a DC 13 Wisdom save, or else the creature becomes frightened. Note that there are also region and lair effects when on a Merrenoloth ship, but they mostly only affect movement of the ship itself or creatures that can fly. As a DM, I would use the Merrenoloth as a ferryman, possibly to allow my players to safely traverse the safer of the lower planes, and would only ever have them fight if the party initiates combat themselves, or refuses to pay their debt. In combat, the Merrenoloth should be trying to stay out of melee at all costs. I would start out by casting Darkness, which the Merrenoloth can kind of see through using their blind sense, and then use a bonus action to teleport somewhere else on the ship. From there, combat becomes pretty standard, with them making a Fear Gaze attack followed up by their Ore and a bonus action to teleport in order to avoid melee players. Note that the Fear Gaze does not grant immunity to the fear if players succeed on the save, so the Merrenoloth should be using it every turn on the player they most want to stay away from them. They can also dispel magic when appropriate, such as to remove debuffs from themselves or to remove buffs from players. Their overall strategy should be to get the players off their boats via spells, shoving, grappling, or using Control Water or Control Weather, then escaping with their bounded boat down the river. Should they ever feel like they're losing and about to die, some of them might decide to call upon their patron Charon, who, if summoned, will aid them at an insanely high cost. In mythology, the Merrenoloth are clearly being inspired by Charon, the ferryman of the dead in ancient Greek myth. We've covered Charon before and likely will again, as the concept of a ferryman of the dead is one that fantasy loves to use. In mythology, Charon is usually written about and depicted as a kindly figure who cares for or even pities the dead who must wait their turn to be ferried to their final destination, and he even pities the souls who are eventually going to be consigned to Tartarus. The Merrenoloth seem to have this level of affection as well, but they show it via the care of their bound boat, as well as the paying passengers within. They ensure that these passengers arrive at their destinations safely, which can be asking for a lot since the River Styx goes through planes like Hades, the Nine Hells, and the Abyss. In comparing the monster to the myth, we find that the Merrenoloth is directly inspired by the more modern versions of Charon, a skeletal ferryman with a cloak and hood that ferries passengers down the River Styx for a price. Where they differ is that the Merrenoloth are a race of fiends in service to the Faerun version of Charon, and are therefore just another fiend of D&D. If you enjoyed that video, please leave a like and comment below, and consider subscribing to the channel. You can also join the Patreon for $1 a month to access videos days before they're posted here, as well as other exclusive stuff like short stories, videos, and more.